2021年3月から4月にイスラエルのテレビ局 I24 ニュースでシルクロード各地のイスラエルの失われた十種族に関することが報じられました。私やイスラエルの歴史学者アビグドール・シャハン教授が出演しました。それらを編集し、翻訳と解説、批評付きでお送りしたいと思います。
Tell us how you discovered your personal connection to the lost tribes of Israel.
Well, about more than 20 years ago, I read a book written by Zenichiro Oyabe, who is a Japanese Shinto scholar, and also a book written by Rabbi Marvin Tokeiya, who was a rabbi in Tokyo for more than 10 years. And I read many similarities between Shinto religion, Japanese traditional Shinto religion, and the religion of ancient Israel.
It's so incredibly fascinating and incredible to see the images of the famous Shinto gates. Can you explain how the actual Shinto shrines themselves are architecturally and culturally similar to the Holy of Holies?
In Israeli Tabernacle of Moses, there was a Holy of Holies and also Holy Place, and like that, Shinto religion has a shrine consisted of Holy of Holies and also Holy Place, and there is no idols inside the Holy of Holies of Shinto religion. Like there was no idols in Israeli tabernacle of Moses and also Solomon's temple. In the Israeli tabernacle of Moses, there were tablets of stone of 10 Commandments, and also a jar of manna, and the cane of Aaron. Like they were not idols, but just symbols that to show that it is a holy place. Like that, in Shinto religion, in the shrine, there are mirrors, a sword, or zigzag thing, but they are not idols.
Arimasa, also, is it true there's a mountain in Japan that's called Mount Moriah, where actual Shinto ritual reenacts the story of the binding of Isaac?
The Shinto shrine is located at the foot of a mountain called Mount Moriah. We call the mountain Mount Moriah, like the Temple Mount in Jerusalem of Moriah. We choose a boy, and the boy is tied up by a rope to a wooden pillar, and a Shinto priest comes to him having a knife, and he cuts a part behind the boy's head, several parts of the pillar, and another priest comes to them, and the boy is released after that. This is very much like the article written in Genesis chapter 22.
Arimasa, do Japanese spiritual leaders and people in general learn about the Bible? And also, what is your hope as far as what you can accomplish from all of your enlightening research and own self-discovery?
Yeah, Shinto believers and Buddhism believers don't know anything about the Bible. Most of them don't know the Bible. So I want them to know the Bible. But recently, there are some Shinto believers, Shinto priests, who believed in the Bible. and became believers of the Bible. And also, some Buddhists are very interested in the Bible too. So I want them to grow.
Ari Masa, thank you so much.
次に登場するのはイスラエルの歴史学者アビグドール・シャハン教授です。彼はシルクロード各地のイスラエルの失われた十種族の足跡をたどり、その子孫と愛、また日本にも研究にやってきました。日本でおみこしを見ては古代イスラエルの契約の箱にそっくりだねと言いました。彼は四国の剣山にも登りました。そこで山登りに使った杖を日本人の杖と合わせて、ユダ、つまりユダヤ人の杖とエフライム、つまり十種族の杖が神の手の中で一つの杖となるという聖書の予言を確認しました。シャハン教授はまた徳島県の岩坂神明神社も訪れました。それは自然の石を積み上げた礼拝所で、古代イスラエルの高きところと呼ばれる礼拝所にそっくりだと感じ取りました。シャハン教授はまた私と共に長野県の諏訪大社も訪れました。そこに十間楼と呼ばれる建物が古代イスラエルの幕屋にそっくりであること、またそこで行われていた御作の祭りがイサクの祭りそっくりであることを感じ取りました。さて、シャガン教授はまずイスラエルの失われた十種族とは何なのかということについて説明します。
For over a half a century, historian and professor Avigdor Shachan has dedicated his life to finding and meeting descendants of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. In part one of our special series, Dr. Shachan explains the history of how the tribes got lost in the first place and why millions of descendants are living today in modern-day Afghanistan, India, China, South Korea, and even Japan. Meeting historian and author Dr. Avigdor Shachan at his home was like stepping into a time capsule. For a half a century, the 86-year-old Holocaust survivor has literally been walking in the footsteps of the mysterious 10 lost tribes of Israel.
It all goes back to the childhood memories of the Holocaust. The strongest feelings I have based on this experience is the most important mission of the Jewish nation, which is the ingathering of all Jews from all over the world, including the 10 lost tribes.
A complicated journey that started in Israel after the death of King Solomon.
His son Rehoboam took power. The 10 tribes came to him and said that taxes were too high. Can you please reduce them? This was the answer. No, the taxes are going to be higher. So the 10 tribes didn't like it. And then they separated and went their own way, forming the northern kingdom of Israel, with the smaller tribes of Judah and Benjamin forming the southern kingdom of Judah.
About 200 years later, in the mid-700s BC, the Assyrian Empire, modern-day Iraq, taxed, conquered, and took the kingdom of Israel to Assyria.
The kingdom of Judah was small, so they paid the taxes. But the 10 tribes said, we're big, we have a lot of people, we don't want to pay the taxes. So the Assyrians began fighting with them. The Assyrians finally conquered them and the capital of the 10 tribes. And then they deported them to Assyria. And this is how the story of the 10 lost tribes actually begins. The Assyrians put the 10 tribes along the eastern border, with warring nations on the other side. The tribes were very upset about it. Not only did you expel us from the land of Israel, but you're also using us for your wars. They decided to leave. They started their big journey. The first destination, Afghanistan. There I found a lot of symbols and met different people, professors, priests, lay people, even business people, who all carry the names of the 10 lost tribes. Then I understood all these people, even if they look like Muslims or Christians, they are the descendants of this lineage.
קראו לאפגניסטן מילה עברית, הזרה.
They gave in Afghanistan a name meaning foreign land, Hazara in Hebrew. The 10 lost tribes spoke 2 languages, Hebrew and Aramaic. They built a city and named it Kandahar, which in Aramaic means, this is the mountain.
זה ההר. מדוע הטליבן הם כל כך מוסלמים?
When Islam came to Afghanistan in the 7th century AD, the story is no one believed this group really became Muslims. They were even called the New Muslims, and they needed to prove themselves. This is why they look and act like more extreme Muslims. They are the Taliban of today.
הם חיים עד היום לפי מצוות ישראל.
They keep the Jewish traditions from ancient days. For example, they light candles every Friday night, but they hide it in a basket. They keep kosher and have peyot and beards all the same. They even wear an amulet around the neck with the words of the Shema Yisrael.
ואז הלוויים התחילו להכין אותם.
The priestly Levites living among the 10 tribes formed a plan for everyone to return to Israel. They knew the world was round.
שהעולם הוא עגול, אם אנחנו נלך צפונית
They
להימאליה,
considered which route to take east. If they went north of the Himalaya mountains, it would be a long and arduous journey. If they went south of the Himalayas, they'd go straight to Korea.
הם או יכלו ללכת או צפונית לקוריאה, אבל שם ישנו מדבר גובאי, הקשה מאוד,
They crossed the tough Gobi Desert, which is a very cold and harsh desert. In fact, 40% of the people died.
והגיעו לסין דרך מאפגניסטן.
The survivors decided they were tired and fed up, so they stayed and spread all over China, creating 40 communities. They felt they did something wrong because they left the group and stayed behind, so gave themselves the name Khatai, which in Hebrew means my sins.
זה בית מקדש שהם גם בנו בסין, בעיר קייפנג פו.
They stopped in the city of Kaifang Fu in China, and they built a temple like the temple in Jerusalem. And they kept the holy traditions dating back to Moses, like covering their face during prayers because of the sanctity of the Hebrew letters.
חלק גדול נשאר בהודו, אבל חלק אחר הגיע עד צפון קוריאה, עד קוריאה.
Some had taken the other route through the Himalayas to India, where they stayed. But finally they all got together and reached Korea.
次にシャハン教授は古代日本に渡来したイスラエルのジュ氏族についても語ります。
זה כתוב שם ושיננתם, אז זה בא מ"ושיננתם", שינטואיזם.
The second religion is called Shinto. Shinto is based on the Hebrew word Vashinatem, which means and you shall repeat.
שכתוב ושיננתם.
And with the numerous messianic biblical prophecies predicting this time of the ingathering of the exiles from all 4 corners of the world, Dr. Avigdor hopes his life's work will truly shine a light upon nations.
אני מאמין לא המשיח, אבל פעמי משיח.
I believe nowadays we are very close to the time of the Messiah and final redemption, and the possibility of the prophesied return of Israel's lost tribes. For me, I'd like to live to see at least some representatives of the lost tribes from around the world come and visit Israel. This would be a dream come true.
טוב, זה מספיק לנו.
Emily Francis, I-24 News.
It is such a pleasure to bring you part 2 of my interview with 86-year-old Holocaust survivor Professor Avigdor Shachan about the special connection between the ancient Japanese people to the lost tribes of Israel and why the clues are in hundreds of Japanese words themselves, everything from samurai to kamikaze. Here's more.
What do the Japanese people have to do with the 10 lost tribes of Israel?
הם כתבו שני ספרים.
During the dynasty of ancient emperors of the 8th century AD, the Japanese chronicled the ancient ancestral origins in 2 books, called Kojiki and Nihonji, meaning records of ancient matters. They mention all the kings of Israel, King David and King Solomon.
שלמים של המלכים שלנו. עכשיו, אני רוצה להסביר לך ש...
86-year-old Dr. Avigdor Shachan has spent over 50 years walking in the footsteps of the 10 lost tribes, and still to this day gets excited about the holy secrets of Japan's emperors.
My mentor, Josef Heidelberg, who is no longer alive, was a serious investigator. He discovered that the emperors of Japan are descended from the Kohanim, the priests of Israel, and are holy beings, even until this day. After the Americans dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, the Japanese people pleaded for just one thing: don't harm our holy king, don't damage his respect. He is holy above other human beings.
Avigdor says in 660 BC, a Japanese queen invited the Israelites who had settled in China and Korea to immigrate to the island of Japan.
Approximately 20,000 to 30,000 settled in Japan, which at the time was pretty much an unpopulated island.
עד היום סופרים את
Still to this day, Japan counts its history as starting in 660 BC.
הקלנדר שלנו.
As in Judaism, Japan also uses a lunar calendar that was said to be adopted from the Israelites.
אז היפנים...
Japan decided that only 2 religions will be allowed:
ביפן.
Shintoism and Buddhism. I was the first to write it, but even the Rambam said that Buddhism is not a pagan religion. It's based on something else.
איננו דת עלילית.
Shinto comes from the Hebrew word Vaishnanantem, which means, and you shall repeat. Avigdor is certain that Shintoism is influenced by Judaism and must come from the lost tribes.
בית מקדש בדיוק...
The Shinto temples are influenced by the temple in Jerusalem. Worshippers even do a ritual of washing their hands before entering the holy temple. The famous Shinto gates all over Japan are called tori, coming from the Aramaic word tara, meaning gate. Also, the Holy of Holies in the Shinto temple is an Ark of the Covenant, exactly according to the specifications written in the Bible.
בגודל כמו שכתוב בתנ"ך ארון.
And what's more, hundreds of words in Japanese resemble Hebrew and Aramaic words and reference the land of Israel. Here are some examples.
כשיפני...
In Japan,
שמור היית.
we all know the famous Japanese samurai fighter. The word comes from the Hebrew shomer ha'i, which means the one who protects the island. Kami comes from the Aramaic word meaning atik or ancient.
Toshiori is also the word for sumo wrestling coaches. Sumo follows ancient Shinto rituals to ensure a bountiful harvest and honor the spirits known as kami. Also a Shinto priest officiating and the throwing of salt before a bout to purify the ring.
Today, about 90 million of Japan's 130 million people are Shinto, with the majority of the remainder being Buddhists.
היהודי
The Jewish nation and the Japanese nation have shared history. We are from the same source. Many famous researchers have confirmed these similarities.
מה אני כן רוצה?
Obviously, I don't expect 90 million Shinto people to move to Israel,
מיליון יפנים,
but at least to come visit.
אין לנו הרבה חברים.
The Jewish people don't have many friends. If we are the same blood and the Japanese people have good relations with Israel, that is enough for me.
אל מספיק לנו.
Emily Francis, I-24 News.
こうしたシルクロード各地のイスラエルの十氏族の足跡や日本との関係については、シャハン教授の著書「失われた10部族の足跡イスラエルの地から日本まで」に記されています。シャハン教授以外にもラビ・マービン・トケイヤーなどもイスラエルの失われた十氏族と日本に関して著書を表しています。それは非常に綿密な内容を持ったものです。その他、イスラエルの十氏族と日本の関係については、当チャンネルの中に多くの動画がありますので、それらをご覧ください。当チャンネルの動画は、前編が無料のものと後半が有料のものとがあります。メンバーになるボタンを押してメンバーになってくださいますと、全動画の前編が見放題でご覧になれます。さまざまな興味深い話題を提供しています。月刊レムナント誌読み放題付きのコースもあります。ぜひメンバーになってご視聴くださると感謝です。